I go to the recommendations, there's a small sentence that says we continue to add our voice for sustained education, especially local language, strengthening of border points, and private sector participation. One at a time. You are asking for sustained, continued education. You said especially in local languages. That's to say you're not hearing a lot more of that.
Yes, my brother, if you want, send your team to move to the local level and try to find out. You see people have spiritual understanding of coronavirus, socio-cultural understanding about coronavirus. And in fact, the technical understanding of coronavirus will be out, it will be missing. So it tells you that there's a problem in this country. The second point is that we have 60% of our population who are farmers. And we have 40% of our population who are illiterate. So it's common sense tells you that if you really want to target well, you need to have a conscious program, communication to target specific critical masses. That is what we are talking about.
Communication to target specific critical masses.
Yes.
And at this point in time, you feel there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that. There's another proposal you're making where you're talking about the strengthening of border points. Explain that to us and why you are calling for that.
So let me take this opportunity to tell you what I have done within the last 2 weeks. I have moved from Nandong, Laura, Japa, to Sampa, to Boso, to Sefi Amiaso, to Takwa, to Esiama, that's Elembele district, Elugo, back to Takrade, to Kumasi, and yesterday I was in Sunyani. So my brother, I understand what I'm talking about. As of yesterday, there are no enough protective equipment for the health workers in these border areas. There is no conscious education, sensitization, capacity building of the health workers in these areas. I'm challenging the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service. If they think they have done it, they should come out. So my brother,
you haven't seen any measures throughout your travels, your movement. You haven't seen.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Clear understanding about what is happening, yes, but there's no institutionalization of capacities, equipment, conscious effort. And I don't want to mention the names. I have done interviews, I have engaged, I have visited the health centers. And what I'm saying is that we need to move from Accra discussion to the district. And that is what we bring on board. If we don't do this, the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, will be sleeping. Because they claim that they still not have received money as the president promised the 100 million. Money has not yet come.
You haven't seen anything at the border post. And if the Ghana Health Service has implemented any measures at the border post, they should speak to it and show it.
Yes.
Exactly what do you want to happen at Ghana's border post?
Okay, for example, Elugo, Esiama, we expect to see a quarantine center that is fully automated, fully functional, with all the PPEs. We expect to see a task force or a team that is properly prepared. We haven't seen that. In my attempt to find out from some of the health workers, they said they have been, even one said she's living in fear and panic because this is a border area that people come in and out and come to the hospital, but they do not have anything to rely on. So that is one. The second point is that one of them told me a life story that she was a midwife. She was sitting there and they brought somebody and the person was feverish. The moment they brought the person, she wanted to take the vital sign. And before that, she saw that the person was shivering. So she decided to run away and later on went and looked for something to protect herself before she would come and take the vital sign. So it tells you how unprepared they are. Now, when you go to Nandom, which shares border with Burkina Faso, last week, as I mentioned, there was no anything showing that this is a quarantine center. This is conscious effort. There's no banners. There's no information. And from Nandon to Burkina is less than 20 minutes. If you come to Lora, in fact, 5 minutes you can cross to Burkina. There's a river, what we all know, the Black Volta, which is coming from Burkina through Laura, and that's the border between Ghana and Burkina. People come in just like that. They use the canoe, they just paddle, and they cross. There's nothing there. So assuming we have cases in Burkina, what happened? And they are not detected. Assuming we have cases in Ghana, they are not detected, they also cross. What happened? So these are practical things I'm telling you. They are not theory.
That is quite interesting. And then you're also asking for, I think one of the things we discussed yesterday, ahead of issuing the statement, was the issue of private sector participation. What you're saying, you're not seeing enough private sector participation. Now, subsequently, the president has been engaging a group of pharmaceutical companies, and he is telling them to use the opportunity to produce majority of the things we need to be able to combat the disease here. Is that a measure that you think will help?
It's good, but it's not good enough. Let me give you a typical example. Now, brother, you know Tyler oil. You know the Obuasi gold field.
Yes.
Yes. You know other construction firms in Ghana. How many people do they employ? How many people do they use? What is their corporate social responsibility? Now the coronavirus is with us. Who is engaging them officially to task them? Please contribute something to this control program. Who is doing that? My brother.
So to you, that is also key, getting them involved, not only in terms of also ensuring that, but also ensuring that they contribute to the whole exercise.
Yeah, they can contribute technically, financially, and even morally. They have the moral obligation. They are responsible corporately. Their corporate social responsibility. They can decide to support Radio Gold for 1 year on educational program, to really educate people professionally about the reality of coronavirus, the preventive measures, and referral systems. And that can sustain and that can transfer knowledge into the ordinary Ghanaians. That's one typical example. Even you, the private media, apart from you reporting, you must be professionally be engaged. To say that I want all media houses in Ghana to allocate at least 1 minute of your airtime to educate people about coronavirus. So assuming you have 1,000 FM stations in Ghana, multiply 1 minute by 1,000 every day. How many minutes?
You're looking at 1,000 minutes.
Yes. So 1,000 minutes populated in the whole country. Now, these are simple involvement strategies. Engagement, that does the trick. And so all that we are doing as a coalition is just to draw government attention that there are certain sectors that are not fully engaged. And therefore you cannot get their support, their commitment and resources. But let's activate them. so that we can all win in this matter. This is not the time for a win-lose. This is the time for a win-win situation. And we must get everybody on board to get their support to win this fight against coronavirus.
And tied to that is your recommendation number 3, in which you are saying that private healthcare providers must be properly mainstreamed in the fight against the coronavirus. Why do you think that is very important?
Brother, do you know that we have more than 3,000? I can't quote well because it's a long time I've read that document. But we have largely private health facilities across the country who play a critical role in terms of immunization, getting children vaccinated. We have private health facilities across the country. In fact, they are supposed to be more than 800. But they are private service. But the national expanded program on immunization has rolled them into the normal immunization routine program. So Ghana has been doing well in terms of immunization, reaching out to children born between 0 to 5 years. But these are the groups who are not properly involved now. And these people can reach more than 6 million people. Because from our records, every year they reach more than 6 million people on education and contacts with parents and caregivers. So it is proper that we have the private sector units within the Ministry of Health to activate that opportunity. To say that on our emergency, let's have a private healthcare providers representative to be with us so that they also have their platform. They will also say that this is what national is agreed. We want your support in also this and that. So that we have that philosophy of all hands on deck. That's all we are talking about. We are giving alternative for government to beef up their strategies as we continue to strengthen and fight against coronavirus. So I expect the ministry, Ghana Health Service, their health promotion, the deputy director in charge of public health should listen to this and do something about it.
And the other proposal is for civil society involvement too.
Yes, it's quite normal. Honestly, civil society, as well as the culture of NGOs and health, we are fortunate we are part of the health sector working group. So we have privy to a lot of things, but unanimously at our last meeting, everybody agreed that the preparedness still need much to be done, and there are certain groups of people who are still not well represented, and so we have given the feedback, but in an official statement we cannot flag it and we still put it there. There are think tanks in this country who are health research and economists. They need to be part of this discussion. And there are also some NGOs, civil society, who can even raise financial support to support government. So we shouldn't think that the $100 million is enough. There are other NGOs who can bring additional income to the whole thing. And we are just drawing government attention that let's get largely the civil society to be part of this.
Let me move to your point 5, where you're asking for farmers and cooperative society to be supported through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Why are you making this particular recommendation?
That should even be the first thing we should have done from day one. We have more than 60% of our population being farmers. That's all. Their knowledge level is very low in terms of understanding communicable or non-communicable issues, diseases. And therefore, we need to double our education to them more than even ever. You and I can easily read and understand. The cooperative group, the fishmonger, the fish farmers, the fishmongers within the coastal line, right away from Yeji to the Volta region, to Cape Coast, to the western region. They get up and they are always on the sea or in fishing, and they come by and they meet different groups of people. What message are we giving to them? the different cooperative group we have yam farmers, we have maize farmers, we have beans farmers, we have cashew farmers, we have mango farmers. These are well-organized groups that the Ministry of Agri should be targeting effectively. Pandemic, you need to roll all out. Get all strategies, roll them out. And that, we think, has not been done properly. So we are drawing their attention.
And then the first, I'm not jumping back to your number one. The first recommendation you make is strengthen National Mental Health Authority to provide psychotherapeutic and anti-stigma, anti-discrimination services. Do you think that we will be having issues with stigma as far as the disease is concerned? Hence your proposal.
My brother, as you speak to me, don't you feel some emotions in you? Don't you feel that we are not doing well?
Yeah.
Don't you feel that you should not have? If you have, you may probably want to kill yourself. Don't you feel that? So imagine the person who gets the coronavirus. How would the family feel? How will that person feel? Who will talk to the person to know that this is just a coronavirus and therefore all is well? There shall be treatment for you and you shall be well. How will the person feel if people get to know that he is infected with coronavirus? Will he be able to mingle with society again? Who should let him come back to his senses that, oh, don't stigmatize yourself, and family don't discriminate against him after treatment? So that bulk intervention, providing psychotherapeutic intervention to mitigate stigma and discrimination at the family community level is very, very high for people who will be infected. And so public health will tell you that the best way to keep the population healthy is preventive aspect. And during prevention, you can counsel, you can help people to realize themselves, and you can help people to mitigate anxiety and stressful situations. But as we speak now, what is the role of the mental health authority across board?
Interesting question. But let's end with your view on what we are seeing now, where the NIA is essentially saying that they are still continuing with their registration exercises when the president is ordered against public gatherings.
No, brother, I will not comment on this.
Doc, why not?
The number one has spoken. So if people decide that they will do whatever, so who am I? Me, small boy, village boy. Why will I comment on this when the number one has spoken?